Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the True Crime Corner with THABEÉ. My name is THABEÉ and I talk about true crime. Well, that's if you're new here. I'm just telling you what I do. But yeah, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about Cameron Cooper, and I just want to tell you that this is going to be crazy. This is going to be a ride. Um, yeah, like the way this is so crazy, like there are movies, books, and a lot that is based off of this case. So yeah, let's get into it. And my usual disclaimer, I do not mean any disrespect to any of the victims and any of the family members involved. I upload and make these videos for educational and awareness purposes. I totally mean no disrespect. So yeah, Cameron Cooper was Cameron Cooper was born on the 5th of November 1953 in Altus, California. So this is a California case. His parents were Harold and Marina. Not much is mentioned about Cameron's childhood, but it was relatively normal. It was relatively normal besides the fact that they moved around a lot. And yeah, they only got settled in 1968 when Cameron was at the age of 16 in Red Bluff, California. And this is where our case is taking place, in Red Bluff. So around the age of 16, Cameron started to have weird fantasies and started to collect SNL and bondage pornographic magazines. And also, he just started to become very withdrawn. He seemed to spend his time alone most of the time. So, yeah, Mr. was into some weird stuff. And it was super weird because I know that some people are into like bondage and stuff like that. But he wanted to be in control, and he wanted the person that he was controlling to not give consent to him doing whatever he wants to do to this person. So he finished high school and decided to go work at a lumber mill at the age of 19. And he decided that, you know what, I think I want to make my fantasies a reality now. I want they should come to fruition. So he got a girlfriend named Janice. She was 15. Now, I know in our time, 19 and 15 age difference is not a frowned upon age gap, but this was the 70s. This is around the 60s and 70s, close to the 70s. So it was just this man is like he was considered a man and she was considered a child, you know. So yeah, guys, I'm about to try something. I have no idea if this is gonna work, but I hope it does. The way I planned it out in my head, I hope it works out like that. But anyway, so he started dating. Is it working? He started dating Janice, who was 15 years old. Janice came from a family that did not care much about her. Like, the father did not pay much attention. The mother only paid attention to her when she was doing something wrong or when she was trying to badmouth her in any type of way. So she never received the love and affection that she deserved, I suppose. So when Cameron came along, it was very new to her, like this love, this attention. But so I made it clear from the very first date that this is what I'm into and this is what we're gonna do, you know. So from the first date, he started abusing her, torturing her in some way, and putting her in bondage, And I suppose she just didn't think much of it at first, because after he did what after torturing her and doing all of these weird things, he would buy her presents. He would be like the perfect boyfriend. And I suppose this is the abuser syndrome. Okay, well, this is what I call it, the abuser syndrome. Like, mostly people who abuse other people, they abuse them. They abuse them, and then after, they act like they are the most innocent and lovable people. They would treat you with the utmost of love, care, and shower you with gifts, just so in a way to just blindside you of the abuse that they're taking you through, or the abuse that they're putting you through. This read is not giving me what it's supposed to be giving. Uh, but anyway, yeah. So he was in a relationship with Janice, and after a while, they decided to get married. And he went to Janice's parents and asked for her hand in a marriage, and they agreed. The parents agreed. Weird enough, even though they were really, really strict and were against dating, but they allowed Janice to date this guy and eventually marry her. So Janice got to a point where she told Cameron that, you know what, I am tired of you abusing me and beating me and just torturing me. Um, this is not how it's supposed to be. I want to have my own kids. I want to have a family, and I can't be pregnant while you beat me all the time or you torture me because of your fantasies. So Cameron only agreed to stop beating on her, only on one condition. And the condition was just just listen to this. The condition was he's only going to stop beating on her if they kidnap a woman and he gets a sex slave. It's him. You. And like, I don't know. Janice actually plays a huge part in the story. Janice agrees to this. Crazy enough, she agrees that, okay, fine, you can get a sex slave, but you're not gonna sleep with her. You're not gonna sleep with her. You can only beat on her, torture her, and stuff. So eventually, Janice fell pregnant, and while Janice was pregnant, Cameron was excited. He was building his torture chambers. Yes, his torture chambers in the basement. And he was a very handy person, I suppose. Like, he's a very crafty, hands-on type of guy, because he built the craziest of things and most horrific, like horrendous things that you could ever imagine. So yeah, on the 19th of May 1977, this is after Janice eventually gave birth. The family, Cameron, Janice, and the baby went out on a drive. I'm not sure where they were going to, but they went out on a drive. And this date is very important because this is the start of a long, 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 yeah, a long situation here. So this is where Colleen Stan comes into fruition in the story. Um, she is the main character, I believe, in the story because she's the one that is being put through the most horrible things that a human could possibly endure and go through. So Colleen was born on the 31st of December 1958, 1958 or 6. Somewhere there, guys. My memory is just a little bit fuzzy. Somewhere there. So she was planning, she was 20 years old she was 20 years old in 1977. So she was planning on surprising her friend in Riverside, California, on the north of California. So she was born into a supposedly normal family, even though her parents went through a divorce. And she's the eldest of three daughters. So she eventually finished high school and ended up moving to Eugene, Oregon, which is about 600 kilometers from Riverside, California. So she wanted to go surprise her friend for her birthday at Riverside, California. Um, but her car didn't seem to work. And this was the 70s, guys. It was like hitchhiking was a thing, and I feel like she was very good at hitchhiking, and she decided to hitchhike from Eugene, Oregon to Riverside, California. And it actually worked for 400 kilometers. It worked. She hitchhiked with trucks, and she paid very careful attention to whose cars she got into. So this was where is my eyeliner? Oh. This is the 19th of May 1977, and she was hitchhiking. She only had like 200 kilometers left to reach her friend's destination, and a car approached that had a couple and a baby inside. So she saw this car approaching, and it had a couple in it and a baby. So first impression, she was like, okay, this seems like a good option to hitchhike into, because prior to her seeing this car, she already rejected two cars that drove past her. One of the cars was a car with rowdy men, and she was like, that don't look like I'm about to get into all of that. So when she saw this couple with a baby, she was like, okay, this seems safe. Let me just, I wish I had a time machine. I wish I had a time machine. I wish I had a time machine to go back and tell her, do not get into this car. Please do not get into this car, because this. So by now you obviously know that the car that they got into is Cameron's and Janice's car. So they said that they would take her anywhere that she wants to go. So they stopped. She got into the car, and yeah, they stopped at a gas station. Colleen asked to use the bathroom. So this was the Cameron and Janice's car was a 3-door car. So the people who sat the back seat can only go out if the driver or the passenger gets out. So she asked to use the bathroom. And she said that while she was in the bathroom, she just had this, that gut feeling, that intuition, that voice that just says, something ain't right. Hold on. Wait a minute. Something ain't right. It seems like that intuition was telling her, no, just get out the window and just run. Do not go back to that car. But, and then again, she's like, okay, no. I always overreact. Let me not overreact. They seem like an okay couple. They even have a baby. So what could possibly go wrong? Girl, everything could go wrong at this point. If only you knew. Okay, relax. So she went back into the car, and when she got back into the car, she noticed something at the back seat next to her. There was a box. And this box was like, this don't look like, this box ain't friendly. You know, it's not a friendly box. It's not a friendly looking box. But she just ignored it. She's like, "Ugh, you know what, Nay? This is not my business. I'm just here for the ride. Let me just mind my own, keep my mouth shut, and just be thankful for this ride, you know?" But this box was, I guess you guys remember I told you that Cameron is very handy. He's very creative when it comes to his hands. So he built a head box. So we're gonna call it the head box. He built a head box that had hinges that could open up. He lined it with carpet and with a hole where you could stick the neck. So this box covered the head, you know. Okay, let's get back to when Colleen was in the car. So she was in the car and they start driving off. So while they're driving off, Cameron and Janice say, don't you mind if we go see some ice caves. We heard that there are some beautiful ice caves up there, and we'd like to go see them before we head home, you know. So obviously, like, she's the one hitching a ride. She's not in a place to say, no, guys, you can't go because I'm in a rush. I need to go to my birthday party, you know. So she's like, okay, yeah, sure. I don't mind. You guys can go ahead and go see the ice caves. So they go ahead, Cameron drives, and eventually turns off the main road and goes into a secluded area. Both Janice and Cameron get out of the car and leave Colleen in the. There's some weird cat outside, and I'm just like, little kitty, you're not our cat, first of all. But anyway, sorry, got distracted. They leave Colleen in the car, and when Cameron comes back, he has a knife and covers Colleen's mouth and says, "You're going to do everything that I'm telling you to do." At this point, sis cannot refuse because nobody's gonna hear her, you know. So Cameron puts her in the back seat, puts the headbox on her head. She basically is screaming, but nobody can hear her because he lined the box with carpet. So the sound is kind of muffled. You can't hear the person screaming if they're screaming, you know. So I don't know what else to do with this eye look. I think I should like do a cat eye. Okay, so I decided to put on lashes, and I don't know how I feel. Anyway, but anyway, we move. So I think, let me just, should I add fade under my? So I'm gonna remove this. Doesn't that look okay? So they abducted Colleen and waited somewhere in their neighborhood until it got dark so that their neighbors couldn't see when they brought her into the house. So as soon as it was dark, they took her into the house. They took her into the house and took her to the basement. Immediately as they got to the basement, Cameron put her in handcuffs, and he had placed hinges, hooks in the ceiling where she would hang. She placed her there and made her step on an ice box, a cooler box, and as she stood there, cuffed her, made her hang there, and just kicked the cooler box or ice box under her feet so she could hang. As she was hanging, he tore off all of her clothes until she was stripped naked and started whipped her. And I think this was a form of punishment because Colleen was screaming and she wanted Colleen to just shut up. So he beat her, and left for a while, went upstairs, came back with Janice, and they did the craziest thing. They had sex beneath where Colleen was hanging. And after they were done, they went back upstairs, and that was that. Until eventually, a few hours later, Cameron came back downstairs to come and place her in a box. He had built a box bigger, a little bit bigger than a coffin, but not exactly bigger than a coffin actually. It was approximately the same size as a coffin. And put her head box back on, placed her in that box, and tied her up, tied her hands to the box, to the sides of the box, and she slept there for 23 hours. Do you know, first of all, you cannot breathe because this box is lined with carpet. You can't move because this box, there isn't much movement in the box. You're handcuffed to the side of this box. This was her life for the next few weeks, let me just say. She was kept in the box 23 hours a day, only let out 1 hour where she, like for 1 hour where she was tortured, and she was taken back to the box again. The only way she used the restroom was with a bedpan. I don't know how they placed it, if I just can't imagine it. But yeah, that was her life until up until all this time she's blindfolded, so she does not know where she is or what this torture dungeon looks like, how Cameron looks like. She does not know. Okay, she does know what Cameron looks like. Type thing. So she does not know what the dungeon looks like where she is, the torture chambers, does it look like. So after a few weeks, after like a few weeks, they gave her a bit of leeway, I suppose. They took off her blindfold. Cameron took off her blindfold and made her sign a contract. This is a contract that he made and said that he is a part of an organization called the Company, where powerful people, judges, politicians, rich people had slaves, and they kept surveillance of their slaves, 6 slaves, and the 6 slaves' family. And if the 6 slave ever tried to run away, they would kill the 6 slave and the whole entire family of the 6 slave. So she was made to sign a contract where it stipulated that Cameron had full control over Colleen, her soul, her body, everything, and she was no longer her own. She was now Cameron's, and she signed it because she was scared that she would be killed by the company, and her family would be killed by the company. So she signed it, and guess who was the witness? Janice was the witness to all of this, as the witness signature. So yeah, what's the words, guys? So she started doing chores around the house, but she did these chores while she was naked, and then after she was done with the chores, she was put back in the box. This happened for the next few months, and eventually they moved out to a mobile home. I have no idea why they did that, because it does not make any sense to me that they moved to a mobile home where Cameron left his dungeon, his torture dungeon, to move to a mobile home where he does not have the space to do that. So they moved to, I think, in my opinion, that they had money problems. So they moved to a mobile home, and they found a waterbed in the mobile home, and Cameron had to be creative of where they were going to keep Colleen, because they don't have the torture chambers any longer. So Cameron noticed that the waterbed had a wooden frame, and underneath that wooden frame, Colleen's box would fit there. So he pushed the box in there and noticed that it does fit. Kind of, this is under a bed. So this is where Colleen ended up staying underneath their bed while they were staying in the mobile home. The same process was still happening. She was kept under this box for majority of the day, like 23 hours a day, 22 to 23 hours a day, and only let out when she was tortured or did house chores. So this became her life. Also in the mobile home, she was only allowed to get out of the home when it was necessary for her to be out of the box underneath the bed. And around this time, while they stayed at the mobile home, Janice fell pregnant with her second child, and Janice went into labor a few months after that, obviously, but gave birth at home on top of her bed while Colleen was under it. Like, how do you even do that as a mother giving birth, knowing that there is somebody that you kidnapped who's underneath your bed right now? Like, what the hell? But around this time, after the baby was born, Colleen was given leeway again. She took care of the children. She was even allowed to go on jogs. She could jog around the community. And I know this is crazy because I'm sure you guys are asking, why did she not use this opportunity to run away? She did not do this because she was scared. She was afraid of the company and that it would kill her and that they were watching her. So she did not try to escape ever, and Cameron was very, I don't want to say full of himself. He was very sure that she would not try to move. She would not try to run away because of what he had told her. And she truly believed that the company would come and kill her and her family. So this was, I'm going to skip to 1983, Christmas of 1983. This is approximately 3 years after the abduction. And Cameron decided to give Colleen a Christmas present to call her parents, and she did. Cameron said, "You do not mention anything because you know that the company's listening on the phone. They're watching your family, and if you say anything, your family gets killed." So she called home, and Colleen's sister picked up, and she was so shocked because her parents and her family were thought that she was killed or she joined a cult. I know, crazy, a cult, because it was the 70s. Cults in California were a thing. So they thought that their daughter had joined a cult. And so she called home and she didn't mention anything about what was happening. And after Cameron noticed that, okay, she did not say much, she did not say anything, he gave her the opportunity to go home. Yes, to go home. And, this does not look like. Cameron took her home and he presented himself as Colleen's fiance or boyfriend. I'm not sure, one of those two. And yeah, I forgot to mention this. When Cameron gave Colleen the contract to sign, it stipulated in the contract that Colleen will not be called Colleen. She will only be called K, as in the letter K. This is how he wanted to dehumanize her. So they went to Colleen's home, and yeah, Colleen stayed there for 24 hours, and Cameron said that he'll come pick her up in the next 24 hours to come and fetch her after a convention he's going to or he's attending. And she stayed with her family for 24 hours and did not mention a single thing. Eventually, Cameron came the next day and they went back home. Home. So when they went back, immediately Cameron took her to the box and did not let her out again for the next 2 years. Like, it was that routine again of like, okay, she's in the box for 23 hours, only let her out when I torture her, and yeah. Do you remember when I said that Janice said that you can have a sex slave, but you're not allowed to sleep with a sex slave? Eventually, before the third year, before this happened, Janice changed her mind and said that yes, you can sleep with her now. And so Colleen was undergoing torture, sexual abuse, the worst part. I can't even imagine what she was going through. But yeah, so around this, after a while, so I think in 1984, sorry, I think I got my dates mixed up. Not in 1983, was 3 years after the abduction. It was definitely not 3 years after that. 77 to 83 is not a 3 year gap. It was a 5 year gap. So in 1984, it was 7 years now. And she was let out of the box again and reintroduced to the community because the community already knew her, but then she disappeared again because Cameron kept her in the box again and kept her hid. So she was given the leeway to start taking care of the kids again, doing some chores, and Cameron actually told her to go get a job. And she actually did. And I'm sure again you're asking yourself, why did she not run away? She didn't because she was scared. And she was afraid that the company would kill her and her family. So around this time, she had a job, came back home, got into the box, same procedure, morning, go to work, come back in the box, and the money that she got from her job, she gave to Cameron. I think they made Colleen get a job because they were having some money issues. So this is around the time that Cameron started to become very attached to Colleen and also decided to tell Janice that, you know what, she does not only want one sex slave, he wants to go kidnap other women and have other sex slaves. So he wanted to build a dungeon, a torture dungeon at the backyard. So he built a room, and then in that room he dug a hole where his basement or his dungeon would be. And he made Colleen help him build this place because he said that when the other women come, Colleen will be the one that will teach them how to be a slave, I suppose. So Janice is like, you're not gonna. So because Cameron was getting so familiar with Colleen, he wanted to take Colleen as a second wife, and Janice was not having it. And also Janice was also starting to look into Christianity, and eventually decided that, you know what, I'm gonna tell Colleen the truth. And she did. She sat her down and told her that the company does not exist and that Cameron is always lying to her. And the company was the only thing that prevented Colleen from running away. So immediately, girl walked out the door. Like, I would do the same. She walked out the door and called Cameron. Got to a payphone and called Cameron. I don't know, called. So after Janice told her, she contacted Cameron and told her that she is leaving and there is absolutely nothing that he can do to stop her. And she got home, acted normal, did not report him to the police or anything. But Janice, because she started to go to church, diving into Christianity, she eventually told her pastor what was going on, and the pastor immediately called the police. At first, they did not believe the story because it seems unreal. But after going to go check the house that they lived in, the torture dungeon, and the mobile trailer home that they were living in for evidence, they found the box, they found the hit box, they found pictures that he took of Charlene while he was torturing her. They found the magazines, the pornographic magazines that he had, and they interviewed Charlene as well. So they did have a little bit of here and there, they actually, not a little bit here and there, they believed the story, and they arrested Cameron. During the trial, did not plead guilty to any of these things because he said that Colleen was, she stayed there because she wanted to stay there. He was found guilty on all charges and was sentenced to 105 years, 104 years. He was actually supposed to get parole last year, 2021, but it was refused, thankfully. Um, and yeah, I don't think that he'll be getting parole anytime soon. Or they're under surveillance. In one of the sources that I read, he's under surveillance to see that if he's a sexual predator, and if he's not seen as a sexual predator, he will be released this year. So, but I think that he'll be seen as a sexual predator. So he is still in prison, and hopefully he will remain in prison. And during his case, the judge, his defense team brought up some evidence and said that Colleen was there because she chose to be there, and she was given a multiple of opportunities to leave and to go away and run away from the situation that she was in, but she didn't. And they had to understand that he brainwashed her, and she was afraid. I forgot to mention something. After Colleen ran away, went back home, she kept in touch with Cameron and Janice. I don't know why she did that. I think she had Stockholm syndromes, because Stockholm syndrome is when a victim attaches himself or herself to the perpetrator. Well, that is my case for today. I thank you for watching. Love and blessings from me to you. I hope you enjoyed the case.